as a flex can go into that AD carry position, mid lane, maybe even support too.
Yeah, and this is something that has been banned away just so frequently already today. By no means is it sort of a pick that we are saddened to see as a B1. It's one of those that we haven't seen too much of simply because it's been on the ban table, and it can be easy to remember that this champion doesn't exist if you don't see it every day. But this game is like exactly the situation that we'd want it from LDLC with their versatility that you touched on in the draft. This can go to multiple members. It also slightly forces Woolite into this Senna pick here, potentially for Vander as well, worth saying. But Senna Seraphine as a bot lane duo is something that is incredibly terrifying, really, because of all the sustain, all the damage as well that you can deal even early on. Certainly does catch you off guard. LDLC, though, they have this last two picks, or the last two picks of the ban phase, likely going to round out that bot lane. They've taken the Viego as well for Yike. And the Misfits Premier, I mean, if it's not Tom Kench, I don't really know what it is.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense. Has been the pick of choice to go alongside that Senna. The Gnar, a little bit surprising here for Ragnar. Hasn't played it yet this split, but offers you something nice and reliable in the top side. But you already know that you're going to be matching up against that GP. Rudu, I feel like we're going to get a little bit of... Yeah, no way. Yasuo locked in.
Oh, just as good for me, honestly. Tom Kench was the meta answer. Yasuo was the Rudu answer. So they took hidden option B and quite happily ran it with it. I think that it's important to remember here that Yasuo is a bot lane flex with the Senna pairing. You can play Senna Yasuo as a bot lane duo. So if we see Vander or Woolite pull that out, that's something to be fearful of. Good ban away on the Diana. I was just about to say that as we head into the second ban phase, stocks on Diana really do rise when you lock in a Yasuo. I expect this to just match up to wherever the Seraphine is. They've got that R5 flexibility to Misfits Premier, so they'll see everything of LDLC. They'll be able to infer where the Seraphine is going and then likely match the Yasuo up against it, unless, of course, LDLC give them a better matchup in the mid lane.
I mean, that could always be the case, but LDLC's drafts have been pretty tight together, and Ica, that man in the mid lane, has been a real top performer through a lot of this split. The Silas also taken off the board from Misfits Premier, so not going to be able to pilot that one, as hovering the Poppy offers you a lot of disengage options and a lot of way to get fights started too.
So Zara played this yesterday and had absolute psychopathic tendencies. He was diving turrets at level 4 with Hex Flash. It was absolutely incredible seeing this guy just absolutely hell for leather dive on every single instance with the Poppy. So no surprise to see it locked in once again here, potentially building himself out another champion that needs to get onto that perma ban status. With this pick, though, it obviously still says that they've got potentially mid lane, potentially Senna pairing still to go. Curious about what Misfits Premier look to round this out with. They are notably missing a significant amount of magic damage this game. So if they can get some of that in somewhere, that would be great. But LDLC look to be with that Ezreal locked in, just rounding out a fairly safe stock standard bot lane duo.
Yeah, Ezreal is sort of like just the king of non-interactivity. Absolutely doesn't have to trade autos with the enemy AD carry if he doesn't want to, and that means that he can be a pretty reliable scaling threat. Mumu locked in for DOS, not going to be that Braum, means that the Seraphine is moving into the mid lane for Ica, so if we're saying that Yasuo is following the Seraphine, that's going to be Chayak piloting that one.
Yeah, I think that I was quite happy with Seraphine in the mid lane. When I saw this locked in, I was like, well, I look at the players and I'm like, I don't want to put Exakick on Seraphine. I also don't want to put DOS on Seraphine. DOS is a really great engaged champ or an engaged player. Exakick, very mechanically gifted. Sticking him on Seraphine seems a little bit disingenuous to him. So the Ica takes it in the mid lane. Corki gets locked in. Means we've got Senna Yasuo as that bot lane duo that we thought potentially was going to come through. The fasting Senna with a farming Yasuo. It's not up against the Seraphine, which we maybe anticipated, but against an Ezreal, this is just as easy to get farm and accelerate into the late game.
So, Rudu, if you want to sort of like peel back the curtain, peel back the veil, what is it about the laning dynamics of this Yasuo Senna lane that is going to feel so good for Misfits Premier here?
So, as a baseline, any fasting Senna generates more gold than any other support because she gets gold from the souls, and you're also very easily able to stack that Spectral Sickle, get those support gold quests started very easily. But also, the pairing with Yasuo, not something that, it necessarily innately insane, but just so much front-loaded damage because you have just two auto attackers that come through. It's very difficult for anybody to really try and sustain up against you. And once Yasuo's got that first base, just even this is in mid lane, Berserker Greaves plus Vamp Scepter plus a Senna, there's too much sustain to go against.
Yeah, get yourself a couple items and then go ham as you like in the bot lane. We are going to be jumping onto the Rift in just a moment for LDLC versus Misfits Premier. All right, everybody, welcome onto the Rift. Get your T-Tools emotes out in chat. LDLC facing off against Misfits Premier. LDLC want to keep their control at the top of the table. Obviously falling down yesterday, want to keep the losses column to a 1. Misfits Premier on a tear themselves, looking to push themselves higher in the standings and lock playoffs with a win here. Misfits Premier starting with small invade into this bot side. Vander is getting a little ward over there onto the red buff of Yike. Try and spot out where this Viego is going to be pathing in this early game, but on the flip side, Yike has placed a similar ward at the enemy red buff.
Minions have spawned.
This trade of information looks like it has been acknowledged. Looks like it's been acknowledged here by Misfits Premier as Catchcost is going to make his way over. Dots, starting with that sweeping trinket, is going to clear this one away. So the information on Yike's start isn't actually going to be going over to Misfits Premier. Then maybe with that board taken away, they can infer that this is going to be the bot side start. Actually, both of these junglers starting on the bot side. Not really something that we have seen as much today. Typically, it has been those solo top quadrant starts for the junglers pathing towards the bot lane. That's where we've been seeing a lot of the early action. But I feel like here for LDLC, you really don't want to be fighting up against this Yone and not Yone, Yasuo and the Senna in the bot lane. Quite a lot of damage, a lot of healing, a lot of CC. Those are all things that X-Kick really doesn't want to get hit by here on this Ezreal. Much more concerned with just safely farming up in this lane, get the tier stacking, and then once we're looking at something like the Mirror Mana, and obviously completed Sheen item as well, you can start playing this Ezreal with a little bit more swagger. In the mid lane, we did expect the Yasuo to be going into Chayek's hands, but R5ing that Corki, opting in for scaling versus scaling in the mid lane here. 3 items on either of these champions, and they become incredibly hard to deal with in teamfights. The poke that Corki can put out is pretty much unmatched, and has been unmatched for quite a long while at this point. But Ica, much more concerned with the shields, with the healing, trying to actually mitigate what Chayek is going to want to do on this Corki. And, well, I think we could see that it is just going to be a bit more of a scaling lane, as it is the cult, actually, on this Corki. So I can't imagine that there's going to be too much early action from Zanzara, as I believe I'm going to be joined by a color caster. Rudu?
How dare you? How dare you assume that I would just join you like that? Yeah, apologies for the tech issues. I've fiddled around. We've got some things fixed now. Hopefully we'll be good to go.
Yeah, did you turn your mic off and turn it off again?
No, actually. I changed the inputs. I put it in a different source, so...
Oh, that's good. That's going to work.
So it's better than turning it off and on again.
Okay.
Unplugging it and plugging it back in effectively.
I must say, I really don't understand how audio stuff works.
Me either.
It's really horrible having conversations with people trying to work it out. But, yeah, as it stands, Zanzara, with the additional pressure that Chayek was able to put out, can take away that top Scuttle Crab. And now Yike, spotted here by this ward, will clear that one out, heading back to base.
Yeah, and I've got to kind of catch myself up a little bit here. What actually we've seen from the game thus far. I mean, even just off the first 2-3 minutes here, we've got Mr. Premier with a slight gold lead, and
yep,
this is kind of what I was talking about with the Senna. Is that you do just generate more gold than the enemy support, which is kind of unfair in certain circumstances, but you can see like half of the CS every single soul as Zanzara's down in this bot lane. We've seen some brazen bold dives come through from him before with the Poppy. Not going to be the case this time around.
Yeah, some of them bold and brash, some of them belonged in the trash, but Zanzara's definitely sticking around here, as Yike is slowly starting to move over. If Diego doesn't get spotted here, then LDLC could find an advantageous play, but with that wave getting shoved out, Misfits just look to reset.
How very boring indeed. Bandage Tosca goes wide, so that is ultimately going to be the end of the play. Nothing really too untoward, though. A good little effort down on that bot side. Both junglers sniffing out again. Neither one of them quite able to find the location, though.
Also, they're just holding the wave, making sure that Woolite and Vander have to stay an extra wave to make sure this gets fully shoved under the tower. X-Kick's going to be able to teleport back to lane. This is one of the things that you can do on this adversarial. You don't need a combat summoner spell for lane. So you can take that TP, apply a little bit more pressure as DOS actually flashing forward onto Vander, who's going to respond with the summoner spell of his own.
We will freeze our bot lane, I promise you. DOS will flash for this freeze, bro. Don't you worry.
I wish my support did that.
I don't. That's the no. You know why? Because my support would be Soraka, and they'd flash for that and instantly die.
Yes. Yeah. Well, DOS didn't die. I was actually able to burn some of the spells herself, and one of the weaknesses that Senna does have is that she is incredibly squishy. Yes, she's got a fair few defensive tools. Being able to go invisible is a pretty good one. Being able to stun people, it is a pretty good one as well. But if Yike is able to find target access, which you've got Namumu, that shouldn't really be a problem, then it's going to look pretty bad for Vander.
No, you know what? You're not wrong. If you are able to get on top of the Senna as well, that's certainly not the greatest thing for Vander to experience. He has got tier 2 boots though, Swifties plus Berserker Greaves for the Misfits Premier bot lane. It's a good open for them. Like I said, as soon as Woolite gets that Vamp Scepter, that is effectively laning phase full build, and you can really do what you want for the remainder. And we now get to sort of see how well this duo interacts as the game continues to progress. I think that at level 6 they're going to start to get a lot more aggressive. One of the common themes that you'll see with Yasuo's is, of course, well, first of all, that 10 death power spike. That's not going to be the case, you would like to think, in our competitive game. But also, just that if you get a little bit behind, it can be very difficult to keep yourself relatively accelerated in the game. And I'm curious about what Misfits Premier were looking for with that push, because they've consistently been frozen on and made their lane really difficult. And pushing that one back sort of feels a bit disingenuous to how they've had to play the lane so far.
And it's not like you can really go for dives for too much longer, because when DOS hits that level 6 mark, gets the Curse of the Sad Mummy, it becomes really difficult for you to actually make aggressive plays. And finally, Woolite and Vander are able to get this wave under tower. But once again, those 3 ranged creeps standing tall, and LDLC are going to maintain the freeze. Misfits Premier taking advantage of the push that they have got in this bot side, securing the first strike of the game.
Yeah, this was why I thought they'd initially shoved it in, was so that they could go roam up, but then all they did was get the scuttle and didn't go for it. They end up just delaying a wave instead and making the same play happen. So overall, nothing too egregious, nothing too scary for the Misfits Premier bot lane to have happened. But you are starting to see that there is going to be a slight CS disparity open up. Exakick, just barely. With a bit more farm here, about 1 wave the lead at present. So far it's been fairly quiet, 0-0, and now that gold lead even that we touched on, even as slight as it was, has started to close on up.
This is one of the risks that you do have playing the Yasuo in the bot lane, is your melee. And so if you can't get in melee range of the creeps, then you don't get to CS, and I mean that's actually a pretty significant disparity, almost 2 waves. This is going to be even up somewhat as X-Kick and DOS shove this wave in. Zanzara going to throw out the Poppycopter, actually steals the Herald.
Absolute Giga Chad Zanzara steps up, swings his massive hammer, secures the Herald and tells Yike to get back to farming. What?
Oh, it's not been the diving under towers constantly, Poppy, that we've seen from Zanzara, but that was just as special, I feel, Real did, as we're like maybe looking for something here on the bot lane, throws out the Steel Tempest, but doesn't really find anything more. DOS going forward once more with a second charge of that cube, but the Cannon Barrage is going to slow down the Amumu. Late cleanse coming through from Woolite. Ignite is going to be dropped on his head. DOS dodging away from the damage, and actually Exakick able to get the first blood. How are LDLC he doing this? Vander surely going to take down Dost in the end, but there is very little mana on this Senna. Brilliant stuff in the bot lane.
Oh, it's so greedy from the Misfits Premier bot lane. They had that 2v2 sign sealed and delivered, but Woolite goes one step further, tries to get Exakick as well. Dost dodges out on the Dawning Shadow, which then opens up for more focus onto the Amumu instead of onto the Ezreal, and a gorgeous 2v2 down in the bot side. It shouldn't have been given to them. It was a misplay by the Misfits Premier bot lane, but LDLC also capitalized very well.
Essence Reaver on Exakick. We said that this Yasuo, this Senna would be looking to play aggressive, looking to get lanes. Ling leads, and I mean, that's what they were looking for, but like you were saying, Woolite just going a little bit too forward, a little bit too risky.
At this point, they've won. Gangplank ulti, you just take DOS. That cleanse, like you said in the call, a little too late there. Could have quite easily taken this one off. DOS sidesteps Dawning Shadow, Exakick dodges out as well on the Tornado. A beautiful True Shot Barrage also able to get a kill onto Woolite on the disengage, and the health potion from DOS keeps him alive for long enough as well. If that Dawning Shadow hits, even if Exakick goes for the return play with the True Shot Barrage, he can never go back forward. He always loses that to Vander with all the additional focus, but it is just, unfortunately, a very well executed play by LDLC. A few missteps by Misfits Premier that gets very much punished.
And I love an AD carry who can pop up the white flag surrender emote whilst he's killing you in the 2v2. Exakick, you've earned my respect, and it's earned the ire of Misfits Premier in this game. And this lane that was meant to be doing a lot of things for Misfits isn't working out now. You've still got scaling in the top lane and in the mid lane, but if this bot lane was going to be your route to make proactive plays, that becomes a hell of a lot harder for you.
Yeah, well, the proactivity, of course, coming from the Yasuo is that you can pair that up nicely with Zanzara, the Poppy Yasuo duo. Very easily able to take picks onto one, potentially multiple members. The Heroic Charge, the first one that springs to mind. The second, of course, is that if you do a little snap cast of the Keeper's Verdict, you can knock up multiple members, get multiple in that last breath. Thus far, a combo that we've not yet seen, so we'll have to keep our eyes open and bated breath at that one to see where the utilization happens to be.
Zanzara throwing down the Rift Herald in the mid lane. Only going to be a couple of plates going over. As Encore fired by Icon, not quite in range of the Misfits Premier jungler. It's important,
you know
something that Herald, keeping the gold lead as small as it can be.
That's probably the first time that Ika's ulted this game. I think he just wanted to get one out of the way. You get the whiff in early when it doesn't really mean too much, and come these big team fights, dude's about to go huge.
We'll see. There is a potential for a wombo combo on LDLC, the Curse of the Sad Mummy, into that Encore like you mentioned. Then if Ragnar's able to follow up with a Gnar into a wall, then a lot of health bars on Misfits Premier are going to be disappearing quite rapidly, and in terms of disengage tools, it really is all on Zanzara on this Poppy. If your steadfast presence isn't absolutely perfect, then things look dire for you. Chayek holding onto this package in the mid lane. LDLC just trying to deny as much vision as possible into this river.
Really good value on that blue ward, actually.
I genuinely thought we'd had a pause there. Like, just no one was doing anything.
No, they're all kind of chilling, kind of vibing, not really after all that much. But at the end of the day, it's Misfits Premier that use the... they use the fact that they have package by walking in and taking the Drake. It's not really a great use per se, but they do it. It gives LDLC the way that they can't fight.
Walking around with your package like that is enough to intimidate people.
True, not wrong.
Oh, it feels like we're like... can't even aim a lot of these Qs at Exakick. That's really cruel. He still got it.
No, he didn't.
Did he not? Oh, that's sad. It was the first strike coming up with the gold.
Yeah. You got absolutely debated.
I did.
Unlucky. This is why you're the play-by-play caster, I've decided. Not knowing the difference between first strike and simply looking at a Q. Unlucky.
My eyes aren't particularly...
well, earlier on off air, you admitted to not being able to read, so, you know.
I told you.
That's a lie, by the way. I feel like they're not can read. I feel like there'll be somebody in the chat that's like, wait, they hired somebody that can't read? And that's just on the cusp. It's on the cusp of believable.
And I wouldn't be able to tell. course.
Of course not, you wouldn't know.
I hate this.
Yeah,
right,
I've been translating chat for you.
Right, the UK scene has had this middle cottage short meme going for like a year at this point. I don't want to have middle cottage illiterate. I can't deal with that.
Are you sure? I feel like you may have to at this point. Now, what about we keep them separate? How about the French people know you as illiterate and the UK people know you as unable to go on rides at Alton Towers? How about that?
Oh, what a cursed life. What a cursed life I'm due to leave.
Just every different European country that you go to, you get greeted with a different insult. Oh, that's the guy that can't read. Oh, that's the guy that lost his phone in holiday once. And we'll have to make one up.
You see, that's why you're the color caster, because you fundamentally can't be creative with words when you need to.
Yeah, can't improvise. Absolutely no shot.
It's not worth it. Misfits Premier taking down their second Herald of the game. This one a little bit more planned for Zanzara, a little bit less improvised perhaps. Rude Dudas catch toss, teleporting back down to that bot lane. Of course, post 14 minutes with the plates falling off, if you leave an AD carry in a lane against a tower, they're going to be taking that very, very quickly.
So we see that wise adaptation to keep at least a little bit less gold in Exekick's back pocket, and importantly as well, worth noting that one of the things with Senna that you can't really get away with on other sports, I'm going to have to hold this point because LDLC are making a play topside. Yeah,
Yike and DOS on their way. The tower is there. Will I actually blocking the stun from the Spectral Wall, but unfortunately there's more CC and it's enough to take you down.
A really good little execution on that topside. Ragnar gets priority from that ulti to be able to slam somebody back. A quick little kill there. Woolite now struggling a little bit, 0 and 2. Okay, it gets hopped on by Exekick, but it's nothing too untoward. The point I was going to make though, and something that is actually becoming more and more prevalent, more and more important, Exekick with solo experience for a fair amount of this game. DOS has been largely able to roam at whim, and actually, very important, first pick went the way of Ragnar as opposed to with the Herald, but carrying on, proceeding from the point, you can see Woolite level 9 versus Exekick's level 11. Very distinct discrepancy between these two because Exekick has had all that free time that you're simply not granted when you're laning with a Senna, because she obviously wants to stick around the things that die so she gets the souls.
He's also been able to get towards this 2-item spike really, really quickly. Obviously the Essence Reaver and now the fully completed Muramana at 16 and a bit minutes is absolutely great, especially when Misfits Premier have already got 2 of these Drakes stacked up and the next one is spawning in about a minute's time. LDLC, they don't want to be giving over soul points, so I imagine they'll be fighting fairly soon.
I don't think they'll be fighting middle court. I think Misfits Premier are going to go, well, goodbye. Now, the thing that goes against that, they do have package. They've been using their packages very well. Chayek has always had Drake timing on his mind when taking the package. So there is a possibility, there is that world where we see Mrs. Premier opt into the fight using the package, but they haven't hit those crucial item breakpoints yet. We don't have the Ludens on Chayek and we don't have his Muramana completely upgraded. Woolite is still sat on 1 item as opposed to the 2 of his counterpart. I think it'd be wise for them to just see the Drake, but I can see the world where they go, okay, we have package, we have to fight.
It's kind of just worth 3 ultimates, honestly. In terms of the power level of the package, the damage that it can do is absolutely ridiculous, and being able to split a team is so useful in these fights. But yeah, itemization really not there. Well, the mid laner of Misfits Premier is going to be key on this Corki. Regardless though, Misfits Premier still very interested in getting at least this mid lane priority. LDLC moving over to contest, but yeah, Drake really not on their mind.
No, quite, or not at all surprised. I'd like to see them still try and make a play with the package, obviously. And the other option, and the far more irritating option as Chayek, is he simply leaves the package there for another, 5 minutes. And I think that he's probably just done that. Going to wait for either a potential contest around the Baron as well, because that's going to be spawning up in not too short a time as well. And yeah, just leave that package in the base, wait for the next Drake to come up. I mean, like I said, they weren't really in the position, and I think that Misfits Premier do a good job of recognizing what they can and cannot get away with.
I think it's really interesting that this has been our slowest game of the day, and it's possibly between 2 of the teams that have been performing at the highest level, at least at this point in the split. Neither team really seems too concerned with going in for little tit-for-tat trades that could bleed over big advantages and give their opponent an opportunity to get back into the game. We've seen these outer towers traded now. First it was top for LDLC, bottom for Misfits Premier, then swapped over. So really not too concerned with giving your opponent the opportunity to find advantages, much more concerned with securing the advantages for yourself and then playing out fights a little bit later.
Yeah, getting all the gold into their right places and seeing if they can do the hands check a little bit later on, because ultimately that's what this is going to come down to. This is them sort of recognizing and saying, okay, well, if you're quite happy to trade, we're quite happy to trade. We feel confident that we can out-team fight you later on. And then the other team just going, wait, but we also feel confident that we can out-team fight you later on. Hey, one of us is wrong. And ultimately, they're going to recognize that.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing is it's going to take you, well, a team fight to work out if you're wrong. And by the time that you know whether you're wrong or not, it's a little bit too late. We are seeing 2 items now on Shaik. This Gorky much stronger than he was just a few minutes ago. That Ludens and Muramana means that these rockets, especially the big ones, are going to be doing disgusting amounts of damage. LDLC attempting to get a siege on, but the wave clear just too strong.
Corki, of course, finally hitting that power spike marker. The Ludens plus the Muramana are now fully finished, means that his rockets are going to start doing a little more than a tickle, but we're not quite at that full-on poke just yet. Zanzara.
Oh, blocking out that dash from Dos, who kind of whiffs a little bit on the ultimate. The encore dodged away from Zanzara, actually knocking back Yike. But will still fall in the end. A lot of cooldowns burnt to take out the Misfits Premier jungler.
Yeah, but it's at the right time as well, and with that jungler being down, there was a world where 20 minutes in they opted toward the Baron. They're unfortunately just a little too low and also on the wrong side of the rift to go for it, so it is just a swift kill going over. I don't particularly mind that either. You know, use a lot of cooldowns, but when are those cooldowns going to be used in the next 2.5 minutes before that Infernal Dragon spawns? Their answer, they're probably not going to be used, so get them out of the way. But this is the sort of window that I'll always say, go for your weird fishing gauge looks, you know, 2.5 minutes before a fight.
Yeah.
Or before an objective, because by the time you look around at the next objective, those cooldowns are going to be available again.
Yeah. The worst thing that happens is you die, but you don't actually lose anything too impactful off the back of it. So, yeah, you can kind of feel a bit more free to go to these places. I'm really interested, Rudude, to see which of these mid lane towers is going to fall first, because I think that's key. We've seen so far today how much vision taking down the enemy mid tower allows you to push forward into their jungle, allows you to set up picks, and neither team has really been able to do that super effectively. We did see a little bit of that from LDLC on the bot side taking out Zanzara, but you can make those plays a lot more consistently if the enemy doesn't have a tower in the mid lane.
Quite right. I think that the issue that LDLC are going to run into is they're playing against a Corki, where LDLC also have a Seraphine, so there's not too many issues.
Yike, not quite able to get over the wall there as Dos is going to be coming in as well. That's that knock-up like you were talking about here, but Will I still gets jumped, able to cleanse, flash away, the railgun comes through. No one going down just yet as Zanzara is low on the front line. X-kick, able to pick him up as Nachos forced to flash over the wall. Ragnar's going to follow, but doesn't quite land the wallop. 1 for 0 so far, but LDLC want a little bit more. The Gnar back onto the GP, who's rooted, stunned, taken out. A rampage for X-kick.
And now is that time. They take 2 members out. One of them is the jungler. This time they're on the right side of the map. Their Seraphine is there to give them heals. Baron is on the menu for LDLC. Misfits Premier, they've still got Corki. Chayek has got the package plus the teleport. A very real world where this isn't easily taken. Can they get in and can they make this difference?
Well, LDLC are DPSing this down incredibly quickly. Chayek may have the package, but I'm not sure if he's actually going to get there in time. Baron is just going to be falling down, and LDLC are going to peel off for the fight afterwards. This could be risky. Vander already taken down. X-kick is unstoppable, and the 2 members of Misfits Premier can't find enough damage. A double kill for the Ezreal as Zanzara coming over the wall, but you're going to be falling for a triple. Misfits Premier falling apart in the mid game as LDLC trying to make more plays go under this tower. You can't stand there. You can't stand there against LDLC.
They take the Baron, they take 4 kills, and now they're going to charge it down mid lane as well. X-kick base with the teleport to come back. Potential inhibitor on the card here, middle cart, if they fancy it. They get 2 Drake, they're going to get the second Drake, they're going to get 2 turrets as well. Off of a truly tremendous fumble by Misfits Premier. Chayek has the teleport available, has got package, but elects to not use one of them. If he gets there and red carpets them in the pit, that's a completely different fight. And they're going in, electing to take the fight. This is the initial play. This is what started up the whole thing. We can get into the rest of it afterwards. There's that 2 for 2. One of the targets has Aftershock, and the other just barely able to get away. Railgun doesn't quite deal the damage either, but then as soon as Exakick turns up, this fight is just completely over for Misfits Premier. There's nothing particularly that they can do, and I have to credit Ragnar here. Max range on the Gnar here. It looks like it could just be missing, but it is on the very tippy end of that fight that gets him the Gnar back, gets Catch Cost down, which signals them to head toward that Baron.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing for me is that LDLC, they start up this Baron, they're doing the Baron, and then a couple members are also engaging the next fight that they're able to get even more kills from. It feels like this team understands the limit at which they can play and all of the advantages that they can squeeze out of the enemy team.
And it's not just one member as well, it's everybody recognizing what they can get, because if you see 2 people turn away and you don't have that communication, you don't have that prior knowledge that, oh, we can do this particular play with 2 people, 3 people can still finish the Baron, they can help us when we get there. The knowledge of timings, what your team can do is all so cohesive, and LDLC really are just kind of putting the nail in that coffin at this point, I guess, with Baron on their side. They've not broken open the base just yet, but they've had this lead growing and growing, and now with that Baron, it probably just balloons.
Well, Chatkos going for a 1v1 here up against Ragnar, and you do not win it.
Oh.
The Gnar just too strong at this stage. Goomba stomping on Misfits Premier. And my oh my, rude dude. I mean, if I'm any other team in the LFL right now, I am absolutely terrified. Yes, Go were able to take down LDLC at last game day, but it has not fazed them one bit. 26 minutes, and they are pushing for the win. Zanzara able to tank up a lot in the front line as DOS taken low. The Corky Rockets from Chai can really start doing some damage now, but X-Kick so insanely powerful. Chatkos dead for another 5 seconds, and without that GP, without the wave clear, without the barrels, without the damage, LDLC can just move forward. Yike can stand basically in the Nexus towers. He may have overstepped a little bit as LDLC butting off a little bit more than they could chew. It's just going to be the single pick for Misfits Premier though.
Misexecution from Yike there gets him killed. May have been able to take down Vander, but fluffs a few of his cooldowns and ultimately gets pushed back into the turret. Zanzara with really nice positioning actually takes him down. But LDLC do, we'll say 75% of the work right there. They could have taken the inhibitor if they'd have just focused it, but they end up getting the base broken open, a fairly low top lane inhibitor, and the Baron has worked its magic. Important thing to note is that for the next few minutes or so, we've got Baron and Drake spawning at the exact right time, and neither of these teams are on soul point. So I expect this Drake to just be completely left by the wayside. Potential for one of the teams to try and send an ADC there and try and solo it out sneakily without the watchful gaze of the other team, and then just complete focus up to this top side. And if we draw our attention to that top side middle court, is LDLC with complete reign over the river and that top side jungle. 4 control wards laid down there to make sure that there is nothing that Misfits Premier can see.
And this is the crazy thing. Misfits Premier are not a bad team. They are one of the better teams in the LFL, but they made a couple of mistakes, and LDLC have been so keen to punish. Flash for the Gnar as the engage comes through. The keeper's verdict whisks, and there is nothing to defend the rest of Misfits Premier from the onslaught of LDLC. Exakick is immaculate on this Ezreal, 2 dead, and now LDLC can push forward.
Yeah, they don't need the Baron here if they simply kill all the champions. Misfits Premier still have that Corky, still have an opportunity to get the wave clear down. The wave for LDLC is a little bit far, it's just now coming into focus.
Oh my word.
But you can see they're just going to 3-man zone.
They just 3-man blast cone into the enemy base. And Misfits Premier recognise rightly that there is nothing that they can do to contest LDLC on this play. So much damage coming out from this Ezreal. Don't want to overstep, they don't want to repeat the mistakes of moments past and will back away, but Zanzara on the chase somewhat here.
Chayek has got package, they may want to try and force with it. Drake up in 30 seconds, remember, a bit of an overcommitment could be going for that Baron. You'll see charge forward.
Jake forced to run, actually packaging defensively. That's a huge defensive tool, a huge offensive tool burnt as well, and now Misfits Premier really stuck with nothing to do. The GP barrels are not popping out the damage that they need to at this point in the game. Drake is now on the Rift. Baron is going to be on the Rift shortly. LDLC Just peel back and take these objectives.
You imagine that they should be able to get this dragon without too much contest. That package, once again, really not hitting the marker. And Chayek on the core key, granted, 1-0-0, got great farm, but really hasn't been hitting the same highs that we saw from him yesterday. LDLC just completely controlling the game and just making sure that there is never even an element of doubt in their play.
This is rough, Rude.
It is. It is. It's really rough. Misfits Premier, they've got no real way back into this. The win condition that they've got is core key late game and, you know, gangplank late game, but those aspects are tremendously far away here.
Yeah.
We've got, you know, third item not even completed for catch cost. We've got the third item just finished up for Chayek, but we're looking at that and then we're staring down a completely fully built Ezreal. Exakick is level 17, which is, you know, joint highest in the game at this point, ahead of literally every single person on Misfits Premier by a good couple levels. There's nothing really that anybody can do to stop him, and one of the leading things that is always scary about Ezreal is if there's no champions to shut him down. There's nobody to get access to that backline. It is Chayek with the package. Poppy's not going to be the one that's able to easily deep dive. Yasuo needs that setup from Zanzara. And outside of that, like, it's all doom and gloom. Nobody's killing Exakick, and then there's Ica there just in case somebody does get on top.
Chayek TPing in Misfits Premier. They don't win a fight here, then it could all go disastrously wrong for them. Exakick slaying the Baron. Buff for LDLC now. And this game, it's looking like a little bit of a formality, Rude. Inhib down in top lane, inhib down in mid lane, teleport into the bot lane for Ragnar. LDLC's intentions are clear, but I don't know if Misfits Premier could stop them.
Nor do I, Middlecott. Now, of course, for all of you budding League of Legends players out there, one of the easy rules to try and close out the game is when you take an inhibitor down, don't go back to the lane with the inhibitor that is down. The super minions will do the work. You are much better expended in a lane where the inhibitor needs to be taken so that you can split the resources of the enemy. And that's what you can see LDLC are doing right now. They're going to put all 5 members down in this bot lane and let the super minions act effectively as other champions with pushing waves going in. And they're staggering it as well. This is what you're loving, Middlecott. They're waiting, trying to hold the waves so that they can get all of their waves synced up to crash into the base and make Misfits Premier do something.
Oh, in goes the beautiful dive! 3-man curse to the sad mummy, but it's actually the Amumu who's taken low. Turret has been destroyed. The only offensive structures left now for Misfits Premier are their Nexus towers. Oh my god! And also an acute Exakick. Illegal vile levels of damage being done to the members of Misfits Premier. This Ezreal is on a plane of existence that no one else can even comprehend. Woolite is going to be falling down as Chayek throwing out the rockets on the fountain, but they tickle. LDLC stomp their authority on the LFL and claim another win.
Back with a vengeance, the LDLC team. They lost yesterday. They say that was a one-time thing, a blip on the radar. 14-1. They cement themselves as a top 2 team in the LDLC. They get themselves the bye through playoffs. They are going straight into that semi-final stage. A beautiful game. They never really looked like they were giving anything up in that one. And like I say, start to finish, that was meticulous.
Oh, that was honestly